Good evening, everyone. Long time no see. Can you imagine it? Welcome to our recording of the On the Ball podcast. Podcast number 100, by the way. Lots of people thought we wouldn't get here, me included, but here we are. Welcome. I hope we give you a bit of a treat over the coming 45 minutes or so. We've got a stellar group. Let me show you. Yeah, you know what the drill is at this point. I need to share the podcast, so I will crack on with that, which I hope you'll forgive me for. But yeah, we're in for a cracker. Let me show you who we've got on. There they are. There's Steve, there's Dan, and there's Mr. Chris Goreham. Look at them looking resplendent and ready for all of the fun. Bearing in mind, we haven't done one of these since Brentford at home. So we're going to have some fun with that. Let me share these now. Yeah, well, we won't dwell too much on anything probably in particular, because we know it's not been very good. and people's interest in itself is waning. So what we're going to try and do is provide a little bit of light relief, he says. I mean, I haven't really planned how we're going to do that. We're just probably going to let our personalities shine through amongst the medium of football. And then away we go. And yeah, well, there's so much fun stuff to talk about. I'm almost done with this. You'll be delighted to know. We'll be doing Wits End at the end, although I will confess we're not sure. I'm open to whether we keep Wits End going on the podcast or not. So feedback welcome. I feel like some people enjoy it, but I don't know. Maybe there shouldn't be a secret club. Maybe everyone should enjoy all parts of the pod without having to discover them. I don't know. Openly discussing it. Right, that is done. So that's exciting. I reckon we crack on with it. Get your comments and questions in. Steve's going to keep an eye on them. I'm going to try to as well, if at all possible. So we can do that. And what have you? Sorry about my hair. I haven't done it. And yeah, I'm on painkillers for a toothache, so I don't really know where I am. It's going to be quite interesting how this all ends up. But I have still got my teeth, which wasn't entirely sure would be the case, certainly last night. So there we go. Right, I feel like we're done. So let's get rid of that. Yeah, leave your comments and questions. We'll have a look through as we go along. Absolutely. So Joe Ward, good evening to you. Right, let's remember how to do this then, shall we? I've got the thing, everything's there, the guys are all there, they're looking at me going, just get on with it, Michael. So I think I probably need to do that. And they need the intro, which is here. Let's crack on. I hope you really enjoy the podcast. I hope we absolutely nail it. And I'm sure with your help, we will. Let's do it. Hello and welcome everyone to a truly momentous moment. God, have I written that? No, not Norwich City claiming a Premier League point or even that we're back after enforced break. No, this is the 100th edition of On the Ball, the Norwich City podcast that come relegation or promotion is the best in the business at wondering what on earth is going on. I am Michael Bailey. I cover the Canaries for The Athletic, and I hope this finds you safe and well. On the way, what a bunch of shankers, soup, poop, and downing the claret. We will work through all that and more with our guests this fine evening. They are Norwich numberwang chief at NCFCnumbers, also known as our very own Steve Sanders.
Hello, Michael.
We've got former Norwich City head of content and program editor Daniel Brigham.
Hello, Michael.
And last but by no means leastly, esteemed commentator for Radio Norfolk and friend of the pod, it's the BBC's Chris Goreham.
Good to see you, Michael. We've been nervously watching before we started broadcasting this. You going through your late fitness test for your toothache. I'm glad you've made it, or it would have been someone from the On the Ball Academy stepping up, wouldn't it?
would have been, and I mean they are not ready. Let me tell you, they are absolutely not ready. They are, yeah. You'd only get 5 minutes out of them. Yes, thank you, Chris. Yeah, I do have a excruciating pain in my tooth, which I've sorted by dosing myself up on painkillers for 4 days. So yeah, I don't know what day it is or where I am, but I tell you what, it made the game on Saturday much more enjoyable.
I was going to ask, did you have to up the dose after that game?
Well, funnily enough, Saturday night, Sunday morning, I did wake up at 3 a.m. in total pain. And that wasn't from Milot Rashid's miss. That was genuinely from the teeth. But whether they were related, I don't know.
That just sums up the existence of a Norwich City fan, I think, doesn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. Did they administer the same painkillers for watching Norwich, do you think?
I was going to say, at least I had a reason for the pain. But there we go. Well, Chris, I'll come to you first. Good evening. You were on our very first pod in November 2019.
Yes, 100 years ago, I take it from this. Yeah, at a time when Norwich City were battling but struggling to stay in the Premier League. It's a little bit, over 100 episodes. It feels like the plot hasn't moved on significantly, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an international break. So I have a feeling our first game as a podcast was winning 2-0 at Everton, and I think we thought, that's it. We're away here. Can you remember what we spoke about? What the main key headline was for that podcast? Number one.
Well, Norwich winning away, presumably, because in the Premier League that didn't happen often then, and it hasn't happened often since, has it? That must have been the main headline, was it?
Well, it was for the next one because we did this one before that game. It was in an international break, and we talked about Norwich's team of the decade.
Oh, we did, yes.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's, I don't know what the team of the decade so far for this decade would be. But they, won a title in that time, so maybe I shouldn't be so glib. But there we go. Steve, good evening. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. It's nice to get to 100, isn't it? We're stuck on 99 for a while.
for 4 weeks.
Played and missed it a few, but we've got there, got the single, got over the line. I was going to say I hope it was Everton because I've made no extra effort for the 100th episode. I'll declare that now. But what I have done, this would be is worn the shirt that we were wearing, because I never wear this shirt because I don't particularly like it. But I thought I'll wear it tonight. This is the shirt that we wore for that win, I believe. So if it wasn't Everton, then the one effort that I have made has gone to waste. And obviously this is no good for people listening. But
well, I was wondering why you were in a training kit, which I thought was particularly
wearing it like this feels really weird, actually.
And you literally unzipped the anthem jacket to reveal a Norwich shirt, which is even better. It is it's for those of the purposes of those listening. It's the red chain strip. I think it was the second strip, wasn't it? 3 years ago, with the yellow piping that saw Dennis Shrubeni and Todd Cantwell score at Goodison Park, and Norwich keep a clean sheet away from home. Oh, which obviously happens all the time. Beautiful, Steve. I appreciate that fully. I dread to think how many away wins we've had since then in the Premier League.
In the Prem? Well, that was our last one that season.
3.
And we've had 2.
Because we've had 2 this season, and that was
so
brilliant.
2 more.
Hurrah!
Lovely.
Good. Thank the Lord. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Michael. What an honour to be on your 100th edition of your podcast, and I'm just looking forward to the live reading of the telegram from the Queen later as well.
Let me know if you got that.
Has it been lost in the post?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't got. Yeah, is that how telegrams are delivered these days? I guess it is. We did have a couple of Amazon deliveries, but I don't think it was in there.
At least a telegram from Delia Smith, if not the Queen.
I don't know if she listens or watches. At what point do we mention the fact that you went to both the Leeds and Brighton games?
Well, I would say I'm cursed, but really going to any away game this season would have the same effect, really. But they were the first 2 away games I'd been to this season, though. Wow. And both were approached. Well, the first was approached with trepidation and fear, and the second one was approached with really wanting to stay in Brighton city centre instead and have a nice wander around on a quite sunny day.
Walk along the beach and an ice cream. It's like the thing I didn't get to do on Saturday, which well, my tooth might not have agreed, but it would have been lovely. I should just say apologies for the enforced break, everyone. I'll spare you the various reasons why, but thank you for your patience. And I hope you're as happy that we're back as we are to be back, quite clearly. So I think we should celebrate that fact by getting stuck into our headline act. Yes, our last podcast, that came after defeat to Brentford. Since then, Norwich lost at home to Chelsea, who Brentford beat 4-1 at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, by the way. Norwich also lost at Leeds, and then on Saturday produced a performance that should have already been forgotten by now in their goalless draw, only maybe it was in fact memorable just for a load of bad reasons. I don't know. I think we had a smidge of hope left when we were last on, Steve, or at least played around with the idea. What on earth has gone wrong since?
Cool. Well, that's condensing a lot into a short amount of time, I think.
Nail it into sort of 240 characters. That would be ideal.
I'll do my best. I don't know if I can. I'll try 240 words. I think there are simply no excuses for what we've done over the last few weeks. We've Chelsea aside, and obviously they've not been in the best form. We've played three opponents who I think at the time we played them, you would argue were the most out of form side in the division, perhaps apart from ourselves. Obviously Brighton off the back of 6 defeats, Leeds off the back of I think 6. Brentford had taken 1 point from 8 games, so we were really playing the teams who would be the lowest on confidence. And I would say a point was the absolute most we deserved, in fact probably more than we deserved from all three. I mean, you know, I don't want to be too sniffy about away points in the Premier League, but you know, Saturday you're talking about a team who, again, coming in there with no confidence, had 31 shots and we didn't have a single one on target, so there wasn't really much honour in that draw. I think you're looking at a squad that has no depth. No different attacking options. So even those players who aren't playing particularly well, we can't really take out of the side. So Smith can't rotate the team at all. And I think just a kind of jarring lack of quality, really, all across the pitch. I'm sure we'll talk about the midfield. That seems to be where it's most evident. But yeah, I mean, they're just simply not good enough. I feel like I'm repeating myself from previous pods, but yeah, we're just not.
It's fine, Steve. It's been a number of weeks. Everyone's forgotten. Don't worry. I mean, Dan, it's the point that could keep Norwich up at the end of the season, isn't it?
Yep, it could do, couldn't it? Yeah.
No one said that. I can't believe no one said that.
Not even Dean Smith said that.
Not even Dean Smith said it. What a damning admission. Anyway.
Yeah, it was an odd one. The last time I went to the Amex, we lost 5-0. So it was an improvement on that performance. Well, certainly improvement on that result anyway. And the previous time to that was a pre-season friendly, which I believe was the first time I saw Ricky Van Wolfswinkel play for Norwich City in a pre-season friendly at the Amex, when I also saw Des Lynam there, which was quite exciting. So that had a kind of a double excitement value that this game didn't either. This one had all the vibes of a pre-season friendly from both sides. Brighton, after their excellent start, have had no danger of going down from the first sort of month of the season. And it was just a bit of a knockabout, wasn't it? It's only at the start of April, and we're already in that kind of territory where we're playing kind of meaningless games. I think what really summed up for me in the last few weeks was the first 15 minutes of the Leeds game at Ellen Road, when Leeds looked incredibly nervous. They looked like a team that had lost 6 games on the bounce at home under a new manager. They kept giving the ball away. They kept making basic errors. But as soon as they scored, that was it, done for us already, though. Our confidence just seeped right out. We couldn't take advantage of the fact we were playing a team with zero confidence at the time. And from 15 minutes onwards, it was done, even though we were playing a really poor side at the time. And I think that's kind of summed up where we've been for most of this season, unfortunately.
That's a really interesting point. Because, Chris, I mean, you were with me after the Brighton game with the interviews, and that was something Tim Quill said to you, wasn't it? That, you know, at least, you know, the players felt that they couldn't keep just sort of crumbling after they went a goal down, and that they, you know, proved that wasn't, you know, that they could survive that on Saturday, but kind of by not conceding rather than actually dealing with the consequences. And there was something else Tim Krul said, which was, and it's in my piece on The Athletic today, so give it a read, but because it's kind of the premise of the whole thing, but, saying that, that they had to work hard and put all their bodies on the line, and that was what they did, because sometimes they sort of give them one up or let someone get the wrong side of them. And it's almost an admission of so many different shortcomings and almost damning their performances up until this point, really.
Absolutely right. And yet I think what really brought it all out on Saturday was that wasn't often we've heard about Norwich City in the Premier League. The reason they've struggled is because particularly Daniel Farke used to say it a lot, we've got young, inexperienced players and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to find it difficult. I think I'm right in saying on Saturday Norwich had 8 full internationals on the pitch, and I think Steve tweeted something about how old the average age of the squad was. That, and yet the thing that really stood out from Saturday was they couldn't do simple things well, like pass the ball to each other, keep the ball. And I think this is why this season has been so frustrating, because you can't argue with the fact that it hasn't worked this season. The Norwich squad isn't good enough, but I still think there are enough players within that squad who will probably go on to have quite good careers individually that will make us look back on this season and think, I wonder what went wrong there. The thing that's lacking, and I think it was summed up on Saturday, I think I've worked out what it is that's lacking. For some reason, it just hasn't gelled, has it? All of these players, they're doing their best. I don't question the commitment of any of them, but we've all seen Norwich teams, we've all seen football teams when there's a real, true understanding on the pitch, when you've got players passing the ball out, just knowing where somebody else is going to be. But there's no sort of partnerships in the team that stand out. I've lost count during the season on how many times on commentary I've had to describe somebody playing a ball 5 or 10 yards behind somebody because they've made a run that the passer of the ball wasn't expecting. And that's what it is, I think. There are some good players there individually. There are loads of international players there individually, but they've had a season at it now and they haven't managed to develop they just haven't gelled. There's no understanding there at all. And I think as much as we like to look at the stats and as much as you like to try and analyze these things with some accuracy, I think there is that little hidden magic in football that sometimes you get, sometimes it clicks. We've seen it with Norwich. When you get Buendia, Stiepermann and Pukki for a while, you think, they just get it. We haven't got that anywhere on the pitch at the moment, and nothing summed that up better than on Saturday, where you've got an experienced set of players who've all played plenty of top flight football who couldn't even pass the ball to one another.
No, they did look like strangers. And I suppose, Steve, you'd normally think you blame the manager or head coach for that, wouldn't you? Because it's their job to at least make them look coherent, even if they're struggling to gel, to at least provide some sort of framework they're working in. I think we're all struggling to watch Norwich at the moment and work out what on earth they're trying to do. It's really hard to figure it out. But in a way, I suppose we've had 2 head coaches try to do it with this group of players. So is it, could any head coach get it out of this group, or is it just the personnel not connecting? And also then, is that another stick to beat the recruitment with if they don't gel? Because is that not part of the job to bring in players that work?
Well, I agree with what Chris says about, there are individuals in this team. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw Norman, Gilmore, Rashica in the Premier League next season having decent campaigns with in better teams that do gel. But I do also sort of think that nobody would have kept this team up. I suppose there's an argument to say that, well, Smith's style of football has almost been at odds with the way that Farke had previously played. So you're asking a group that presumably were brought in to play Farke's style of football to adapt something completely different. But you're kind of giving Smith some boil in a bag of rice and a couple of onions and some veg stock and go, well, there you go, make a really nice risotto of that. Is it just it's not there?
Really steady cook.
It's basically yeah, and he's not going to get any green peppers or red tomatoes or whatever it is off me. There's no chance. But the squad that he inherited wasn't Premier League really. Or at least, there was a lot of work to do. And I think they kind of gathered that momentum at the end of January and then didn't capitalize on it by failing to bring anyone else in. And, there'll be plenty more opportunities to talk about that. But I think not doing any business at all in January, whether it would have made any difference or not, I don't know. But it was a bit like waving the white flag, I think.
I think sometimes as well, like a decision like that, you don't ever want to do business for the sake of it, so you shouldn't be doing that. But I think the whole message that it sent out that we're not doing any business, I think the fact that Norwich's sort of fortune sort of deteriorated after February, probably there. I feel like the question, how have we ended up with a worse squad or team 2 years on, having tried to have built something up? It's a question we've asked all season and may well continue to ask for another year. I can't even remember the amount of times we've spoken about it. So we probably won't bother speaking about it now. It's Dan, is Dean Smith in a slightly tricky position now? Because I'm sensing that people are watching it at the moment, and maybe the room and the goodwill that he was afforded from being handed this lot, so to speak, that was there, is sort of starting to wane. The more out of shape Norwich look now, although why anyone would suddenly expect there to be a different result because it's the same players, I don't know. But I mean, again, as Chris will testify, Tim Krul was stood in front of us, and maybe he has to say this, saying that it's a better group than 2 years ago. He's convinced of it, as he says in public.
Yeah, I mean, but that's splitting hairs, isn't it? Whether it's a better group or not, it's a group that it isn't good enough either way. I think it is like Smith has to shoulder some of the blame, I suppose, because when he first came in, he did seem to apply a kind of identity to the way we played. We moved through the lines a lot quicker than we had under Farke. We went from back to front a lot quicker. And then obviously in December, we were hit badly by COVID. And then after that came back and played two up top, four up top, which worked a treat in 2 games. But then Ida got injured, and we can't really play two up top without Adam Ida. So he's kind of got these pieces of jigsaw, and he's trying desperately to make them all fit together. But there are pieces missing. There are pieces that are too old, pieces that are too young, don't work quite well in it, pieces that are probably unmotivated. So he's desperately trying to find. It's a bit like the England Test cricket team. They're desperate. Oh. They're not very good, and they're chopping and changing, desperately trying to find an 11 that works. But really, when it comes down to it, the 11, whatever shape or form it takes, isn't good enough. And maybe I think I expected a bit more from Smith to get them more motivated and to maybe put in better performances, certainly since the end of January. But really, you get any manager in there, and the results the same. I think we're going down with that squad, unfortunately.
I'll say 2 things for Dean Smith then. One is, for everything we've said so far, let's not forget Dean Smith did get this Norwich City squad out of the bottom 3 for 2 or 3 weeks in January. That felt like he did, didn't he? Let's not rewrite history here. He got this squad that he inherited bottom of the table and actually got them out of the bottom 3 in January. Those great wins, that seems a long time ago now, but Everton and Watford, that there was a significant few weeks when Norwich were not in the relegation zone, and they've plummeted since, and they're back there. But I think he deserves some credit for actually getting to that point with this squad. And the other thing, and I still haven't been able to find this out, but he was appointed in November, wasn't he? You talked about the January signings, or lack of. So assuming he's still in charge at the start of next season, Dean Smith and Craig Shakespeare will go 9 months between taking the job and being able to field a player who joined the club after them. Now, can anybody think of any manager anywhere in football where that has ever happened before? No. And I think that's until that changes, until he's not dealing with the exact same squad that he inherited. I think you just got to cut him as much slack as possible, because I can't think of any other example of this happening in football. And when I sometimes go on the opposition podcast, I did the Brighton BBC podcast before Saturday and told them this, and they couldn't come up with an example either. So I don't know of any other manager who's ever had to go 9 months before he can play a new signing.
Certainly not through a whole window.
Well, exactly.
Just going through a window without signing anyone.
And not only that, do we have any idea who Dean Smith rates and doesn't rate? Because he's basically picking a team out of necessity at the moment, really. Like, he may not rate Pukki for all we know, but he has to play him every single week. And same with Rashica. He has to play Rashica every week. Like, he's basically, his hand's been completely forced. And even the team on Saturday with the 4 identikit centre midfielders, none of whom can play defensive midfield, none of whom can play in attacking midfield, so that just kind of existed in there in the middle of the pitch. He sort of had to play that team. So I think it would be absolute mad. And there's a little bit of talk I saw about it over the weekend. It'd be absolute madness to let him go. Regardless, we could lose the last 8 games, but Smith's still got to be here with Shakespeare at the beginning of next season. For me,
what I would say, of course, is that under this sporting director model, it shouldn't really matter who your manager is. They're supposed to be able to be parachuted in, take on the players because they're so ingrained in a system that they've been playing in under the previous manager, and go with it. But the issue with that is A, the recruitment obviously hasn't been good enough, and B, we changed our style of play at the start of this season and sort of gradually throughout the last championship season as well. So that style of play that's supposed to run through the Norwich City DNA since Stuart Webber's come in kind of was purposefully let go, which means a new manager will want their own players in the summer. He will want to bring in his own player, but whether he'll be allowed to, how much influence he'll have over recruitment, we don't know yet. Is it still going to be our sporting director making those decisions, or is Dean Smith going to have more influence than Daniel Farke? And obviously Farke did have influence and did veto those decisions as well, but ultimately it's not the manager's job to recruit in this setup.
No, not theoretically, but we'll be very surprised if that is not how it develops come the next transfer window. We can only hope that Dean Smith does actually get to play and to make a signing. Right, I reckon we've done that. We've caught up there, haven't we? So I reckon we move on to a bit of this. It's pick that one out, where the podders each get, and I've forgotten, I haven't maybe warned Chris of this. The podders each get
professional broadcaster, he'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. This is where the podders, pay attention, Chris, each get a short window to bring up an issue they're struggling to let go. Positive or negative, doesn't matter. If they lose themselves for more than 30 seconds, which is the desired situation, then the buzzer sounds. I hope you heard that. And it is time to let go at that point, maybe. So, Chris, I'll let you think about what you want to talk about. Niche as possible. It's all good. Dan, would you like to go first?
You always ask me to go first. But yes, I'll go first. That's fine.
It's because I know how good you are, so you can set the tone. Go for it.
Well, normally I go for something a bit silly, but this time I'm going to go for something that's taken up a lot of attention on social media, which is Stuart Webber turning into Sir Edmund Hillary and his quest to climb Mount Everest, which let's start with saying Webber's done incredible things at this football club, and the cause for the Summit Foundation is very noble indeed. But it does smack of, say, an entrepreneur or a business person who runs and owns a company who can do what they like with that company. They can go up any mountain they want. They can go skiing whenever they want. But what he isn't is an owner. What he is he is employed by Norwich City. And I think the least fans can ask of an employee of Norwich City on the money he is and the importance that his role has is for his attention to be entirely focused on his job at the football club.
I mean, I just sort of let you talk there because I was enjoying what you were saying. The interesting thing about that I found is obviously I speak to lots of people all over the place, and if I mention Stuart Webber, sporting director, he's going to climb Everest in next year. Got a really big training plan over the coming year to get through all different mountains. And they go, all right, so who's replacing him then? I'm like, no, he's not leaving his job. He's still doing the job, and that's the bit that surprises them.
It's got sort of strong Elon Musk vibes, hasn't it? He's bored and he can do what he like. He can maybe start doing some sort of Starfleet as well, try and get to the moon at some point.
Well, look, he will say Neil Adams is in post as his assistant, and that everything can get covered off in the meantime.
Is that his assistant for climbing Everest, or
maybe I don't know.
Some sort of
it's going to push him up. We shall see.
Did you know how difficult it's been on commentary since this has all come out to avoid the phrase Norwich have now got a mountain to climb?
I would embrace it, Chris.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna.
But I just know every time we say it, you just know that's going to get comments. It's one of those that I've tried not to say for now.
Once before the end of the season, Chris. I reckon. Would you like to go next, Chris?
Okay. Yeah. So this is an issue that I don't think that I'm struggling to get my head around. Yeah.
Go for it. Yes.
Okay, here we go. Well, this is one that I will thank your former colleague, Michael David Cuffley, for bringing to my attention. It is 50 years ago this month, 50 years since Norwich City were promoted to the top flight for the first time in the club's history. 1972. I was minus 10 then. I know I look older, but I can't remember it. Honestly, that's the early starts of watching Norwich City all the time that's done that. I can't remember it. But it's such a significant moment in Norwich City's history. And yet, I haven't heard of anything official that is being planned to mark it. And you look at any other anniversary, when you're any football team has got to celebrate its history, its magic moments. Norwich haven't had that many, but when you think about what it's been like, that they cracked it for the first time. Is that me?
That was, but I was
finished.
really enjoying it, so I kind of letting it run.
The club had been going for 70 years and had never been in the top flight. They got there. Dave Stringer, Kevin Keelan, Duncan Forbes, that team, Peter Sylvester, Kenny Foggo, the names even I know, even though I never saw them play. Yeah. And for the next 50 years, they've been around the top flight most of the time. So that is one of the biggest achievements in the club's history. And I haven't heard of any plans to mark it properly 50 years on. There you go.
No, you're right.
Thank you, David Cuffley, for that. If you're tuned in, I hadn't picked up on it until he got in touch recently.
I can already imagine the column Cuffers would have written on that subject, but for no one doing anything about it. I wonder if they've been a bit distracted by the new crest and the centenary, or is it 120 year anniversary, isn't it?
Yes,
of the club being. But yeah, you're right. And let's be honest, everyone assumes, says, thinks, feels. Lots of people do, not everyone, that it's where Norwich belong. So,
well, and quite rightly, I think when we had the 50 years of the 59 Cup run and all of that was always marked, wasn't it? And but it feels like this is probably a bigger, more notable, more long-lasting achievement than that. And I just haven't heard of anything to mark it.
And I guess it is probably worth remembering that the 50 years prior to that, we were just bouncing around the third and second tiers, mostly the third tier for our history.
It just took so long for the owners to, spend a shed load of money to get them promoted. It's ridiculous.
I think it's interesting that in the we like to talk about how football has changed, don't we? And Norwich's position in the sort of relative food chain, and yet you go over the 50 years since, and Norwich have been pretty constant. There was that one, season where they dropped into League One, but other than that, whatever the model has been, whoever's been in charge, whoever the players have been, there've been some great times. There've been a few years at the top, but it's always ended up in this situation, relegation, and then getting back up again and all that. So it's funny how Norwich's place, that they've managed to move with the times, haven't they, over the last 50 years and stay pretty much at the same level.
I feel like there's a BBC Radio Norfolk special coming on soon.
Or an Athletic article.
Probably should be, yeah.
No, likewise. Wish I'd known it a few weeks ago. I would have written something. Brilliant stuff, Chris. What a cracker. Steve, good?
You tell me. I'll slice it. Are you asking?
Okay, I'll pass judgment after you've done it. Go for it.
I would like to talk about what I'm going to call corrupt Twitter. That is people declaring things to be corrupt, which seems to be kind of like seeping into our fan base a little bit. And I don't know, it really just gets my back up. As like a classic comment being like, oh, well, of course the Premier League wouldn't send off Luke Ayling because they want to keep Leeds in there because they get more revenue from Leeds. So, yeah, it's like genuinely, do people have that opinion that the Premier League and VAR are out to get Norwich City and are out to defend the big clubs? I know they don't help themselves with the Big Six thing, but I mean, seriously, like, why even bother watching why even bother following a football team at all if you genuinely think everyone's out to get you? I find it unbelievable.
Agreed. All I will add is that well, no, actually, no, I won't. No, I tell you what, because I was listening to the Manchester United Leicester game, and the fact that they spent so long disallowing James Maddison's goal, which by the radio commentary made out as if there was no reason why that should have. It was almost like they were trying to find a reason to disallow this goal at Old Trafford against Manchester United. That said, I saw it, and it probably was a foul. So
it was.
The argument didn't hold up.
You know that I'm no fan of VAR, but I don't think that people are going. I don't think the people behind it are going, well, that's Manchester United. We can't give a penalty against Manchester United. Like what?
Potentially. No, you're right. Of course.
Thanks.
That's great. You've all done a great job there. Well done. I now like to work through the list of the things we are not going to talk about. I mean, should the penalty have been given as a foul? I at the time I was like, what on earth was Sam Byram doing? But Lewis Dunk did have his arm and was pulling him round, so it was kind of I would probably have said it was a foul, but I don't know.
I've not dared watch any of it back, but I was right behind that. And even if it was a foul on Byram, why on earth is he putting his hand up there like he's waving at someone? It was like one of Kenny McLean's apologies when he's given the ball away. Just stuck his hand up, grabbed the ball, gave it a punch.
He was apologising mid giving the penalty away. Maybe that was it.
On the penalty though, can anyone think of a player, and admittedly at short notice, that's had such a series of incredible misses against Norwich City as Neil Maupay? I was looking, he's never scored against us, but my God, he's missed some big
We were
shots.
saying the same things after the game, yeah. Even in the Championship, he was that game when we beat them 1-0, and when Dia scored, he missed I think it was an open goal he put over the top, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you brought up his penalty record with Dean Smith, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, and Dean Smith said, "Well, you missed a few for me as well." So yeah, it is an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, and I know the other 0-0 draw with Brighton this season is most remembered for Josh Sargent's miss, but late in that game, Neil Maupay missed a real sitter in that one as well, didn't he? Was it a close range header from memory, or certainly a real chance within the 6-yard box that
I think it was
you just thought was going to be a goal, and he put it over the top at the bar at the end, if I've got that right.
You have indeed. What else was I not going to talk about? So I've got a list here. I'm not worried about the fact that Brighton had 31 shots on target. Everyone's sort of hitting Norwich with that. It's like, oh my gosh, a team that hasn't scored and you've let them have 31 shots. I mean, I think, they clearly wanted to have a lot of shots, Brighton, because they haven't scored. So I think you have to sort of acknowledge what they were doing.
Have you seen that Graham Potter's come out afterwards and said that the Brighton fans shouting "shoot" at every opportunity he's putting his players off? It's the Alex Tetty effect.
It never affected Alex Tetty, did it? Happy birthday, Alex Tetty, by the way. Happy birthday. What a man. I managed to put a smile on Dean Smith's face on Saturday because he looked down at my legs and went, "Oh, the seagulls have got you." And I was like, "What?" And then he went, "Oh," and I had some of the halftime vegetable soup. I think it was, when you don't really know what flavor soup is. It was that sort of soup. It's lovely, but I don't know. It was like flavored soup. And there was just a big splodge of it down my trousers.
Which I'd been standing with you for 15, 20 minutes, and I'd been good enough not to mention. And then,
thanks, Chris.
And then Dean Smith came up and went, what's one of you? Seagulls bit at you, mate. Yeah.
Was that as a result of your bad tooth? That you sort of dribbled it down?
Actually, I want to ask you about this, Michael, because you explained it away in front of Dean Smith by saying it's soup, and it's not even my soup.
Well, I didn't. No, I didn't. Well, I did. I just couldn't. I don't remember. When you sort of think you've spilt something, I couldn't really figure out where it had come from. I don't know. But also in the build up to going down for the interviews, I managed to bang my head on a metal bar, so my forehead was bleeding as well. I must have looked right. I had soup on my trousers. I was bleeding from the head, and I was clearly out of it because of all my painkillers. I mean, I probably really did bang my head because all the painkillers had kicked in, and we're sort of.
You came down and you went, "It's my head bleeding." I thought, "What's he talking about?" And actually, it wasn't quite full Terry Butcher, was it? But it was. There was blood. Yeah, we would have to. You, in football terms, you nearly had to change your shirt, didn't you, before that interview?
Yeah. Tell you what, though, best questions I've ever asked. I don't know. Something else I wanted to bring up. I mean, the Leeds defeat. I know everyone's sort of gone around, and I don't know. You were there, Dan. So a lot of people felt. I mean, the Leeds that conceding that injury time, winner, was that like gut wrenching? Were you like, "Oh, I'm distraught"?
Well, a little bit. I mean, my dad's a Leeds fan as well, so there's a little bit of that personally. But it was almost inevitable. It just felt a bit like the Liverpool, the 5-4 Liverpool game when Basong equalised. It just felt inevitable that, of course, we're going to concede again. The most gut-wrenching bit of it was Pukki's miss. I mean, it was obviously a difficult chance when the finest bit of number 10 play we've seen all season from a Norwich City player, from Tim Krul, lobbed the ball over the defence and Pukki couldn't stick it away. That was genuinely head in the hands despair, that was. But yeah, I mean, it genuinely felt inevitable at the time that Leeds would score again.
I just think for my part, I was still really annoyed that Norwich hadn't really turned up for the entire game and then had the audacity to equalise, because it was a game they had to win. So the fact they equalised, I was like, well, that's great, because 1-1's no good for anyone. What a waste, It's like, so I was.
And once again, it came from sort of tireless hard work from poor old Teemu Pukki, who should have had an assist for a winner on Saturday as well against Brighton for more tireless work. That was the saddest moment of the season, actually, when Rashica put it over the bar. I looked at Pukki, and instead of, I don't know, shouting whatever, he just bent down, pulled his socks up, and walked away like Eeyore.
Yeah, this is it. I remember this.
I felt more gutted. You remember the when we lost at Leeds in injury time in the League One season? Go back to then, when Fraser Forster did that awful kick and Beckford ended up tucking it home. That was much more. I don't know whether I've just mellowed, but it felt like that was a game where we really deserved something and didn't get it. Whereas this one, we just didn't really deserve the equaliser in the first instance.
I think the mood has changed, hasn't it? Because after the Brentford defeat, I think we all knew the writing was on the wall. And when it gets to that point, we've been through this so many times. I think one of the big problems in being a Norwich fan is that they've never pulled off one of these great escapes, have they? Not in the time that I've been watching them anyway. Norwich are a team that when it looks like they're going to go down, they go down. And actually, when it looks like they're going to go up, they don't blow it either. They always go up, don't they? But bar maybe the penalty shootout in the playoff final in 2002. But you never get that sort of sudden twist in the tail watching Norwich City. So we've lived through so many relegations. I think you don't feel quite as gutted about them, and you just start to look for the signs, don't you? And you think, oh right, equalising in injury time and still losing. There's another one. That's a sign of relegation. These kind of untried youngsters like Jonathan Rowe suddenly appearing from nowhere and suddenly looking like the best player in the team. You think, oh right, yeah, we've seen this before. Now he does look a good player, but he's nowhere near the first team, was he, at the start of the season? And just the idea, you mentioned this earlier, Michael, the idea that you however many games it's been now, 30 odd games, and I still couldn't tell you what Norwich's first choice 11 is. That it's all signs that you think, yeah, it's one of those seasons. Then
I've got another one, because we may well do a podcast on this. Try naming a player of the season. Oh my goodness me! I would say it's impossible.
Well, it's Tyler's Timu. It's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's easy to rule a lot of them out and then leave you to choose from.
That would involve drawing one line through pretty much the squad. Happy birthday, Tim Krul. Though I think we said that earlier, didn't we? We finally got a date for the Leicester trip, which is May the 11th. I think it's a Wednesday night. Can't wait.
I guarantee there are some Norwich players who will have forgotten that was even happening.
Yeah.
But they had to do that. They were probably looking at the fixtures list thinking, oh, thank goodness, only 7 games left. And then after today, another 90 minutes.
Yeah, damn, another one.
And the Wolves game the following Sunday. And I don't really know why it's Sunday at 3:00. I mean, I guess maybe for the FA Cup finals on the set. I don't know. But it's now the Sunday at 2:00. So that's exciting. Okay. And the other thing that I haven't mentioned, Norwich have a new director. Zoe Ward is now executive director at the football club, so she has joined the board, and there you go. I could do a podcast on that at some point in the future as well, but we're not going to do it now. And in that case, I reckon we probably can move on. Do we need to do this bit? I don't know. Let's let's wander through it anyway. Let's do a bit of this. Yes, this is Centrefold. I've noticed we've already been going 40 minutes, so my 45-minute target is rapidly unraveling. We are 100 podcasts up, which is exciting. Anyone got a highlight since November 2019? I can't even think what's happened.
Of the podcast or of the football or in life?
Life in general, life.
It's all the same for me. I
think maybe I have one. I can't remember what game it was. The one game in lockdown that I could go Cardiff, when we beat Cardiff 2-0 when Buendia and Cantwell scored and everything felt right with the world. There was only 2,000 fans allowed in, and I was lucky enough to be one of them. And I've seen Norwich win 3 times since then, I think.
It will be interesting what the championship's like with crowds, because we haven't really experienced that. So that'll be interesting. I was going to flag up a load of pieces. That's exciting, because we haven't done. It's just going to plug. This is going to be my plugging section. There's a bit on John Rowe. Read that, because I reckon he's not far off a start now. A bit on Teemu Pukki's future. Norwich have got an option. He could leave in the summer, everyone. Oh my God. But Norwich could extend his contract. They've got a year's option, or they just have to pay him his Premier League wages for it. What do you reckon? Take a quick vote. Is that a yes or a no?
To keep Teemu?
Yeah.
I'd vote keep.
Yeah.
Let's give him another year.
Even on the big wages, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Screw it. You're going to put the club in financial difficulty.
Don't let him leave.
You don't want to say.
Yeah.
Well, I asked you.
Goals. He's got to get 100 goals, and he can't leave before then.
I asked you about
the club's all-time record goal scorer, couldn't he?
And you've still got to replace him as well, haven't you? Let's not forget, with whatever money you save on his wages, you've still got to find somebody else who might still be able to get 20 goals in the Championship.
Well, I've got the strikers on the books, Chris. I mean, what more do you want? just waiting. Jordan Hugo's coming back. There's a bit on agents' fees that we've all done across the Athletic as well. Norwich spent as much on agents' fees. Well, I think it would be their fourth highest signing of the summer. if you put it, agents' fees, 8.6 million, just behind Josh Sargent, Christoph Schollis, and Milot Rashica. So well done, the agents.
Almost as many appearances as Chollis as well.
Notable use of an agent in selling Emi Buendia, which is unusual, and just in terms of the money needed to do that. But there we go. Read that piece. There's a good bit on inflation signings. We ran every big Norwich signing through an inflation calculator to try and work out what they'd be worth. And Chris Sutton was effectively £101 million sale to Blackburn in today's market. And Mark Robbins was a £20 million striker signing in the summer of 1992. And you know what? They got what they paid for, didn't they? Took them to third.
The trouble with that is Timo Pukki is still free, isn't he?
Yes,
even with inflation.
But that's because he is the greatest value signing of all time in any football, probably.
I tell you what, just on that, when we're always talking about him, wasn't Tim Krul free as well?
He was.
Yeah.
That's not bad. You know,
no one talks about it.
People always talk about Pukki. No, people always talk about this great free transfer in Pukki. You think, actually, we didn't do so bad at the other end, did we, for free?
I still remember when the Tim Krul speculation first popped up on some website, and I went, they're not doing that. That's a stupid put that. There's no way they're going to spend the money on that. There we go. A little insight for you. And Brandon Williams he did some talking, didn't he? And he said he's not going back to Manchester United. I don't envisage that means he's going to be playing in the Championship. But there we go. What do we do with the loan players now? Do we just keep playing them?
Mate, I don't know. Do we need to? Well, I certainly wouldn't play Kabak anymore.
No, I think he might be done, to be honest, because he's going to be out for a while with his hamstring injury. So he might have played his last game for Norwich. I tweeted that. I got the expected replies. So
when there are reports from Greece that Giannoulis wants to stay next season.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
play in then.
Yeah.
Does it matter anymore? I mean, I suppose I'll refer you to my previous point. What choice do we have in a lot of circumstances? Can they just say, well, we just won't play Gilmore and Norman anymore? So we haven't really got that much in by the way of replacement. Although where Sørensen is, I have no idea.
Well, actually, you reminded me. I was going to bring up Jakob Sørensen when you mentioned, we don't know who Dean Smith rates or doesn't rate. Well, it might be. I can't remember because but I think no one seems to rate Paul Jakob, even though I think his win percentage is probably quite good, isn't it? But there we go. Anyway, there we go. That's sort of turned into a plug. And
was that 100 plugs for the 100 plugs for the 100th episode?
Yeah. Most self-indulgent thing I've ever done. I tell you what, let's have a look forward to what is probably going to be the greatest game of football ever seen on Sunday.
This is almost fantasy football.
Fantasy football, indeed. I have a Swiss student staying with us here at Shays Bailey. They've come over. There's 5 of them together who want to go to the game on Sunday. I'm kind of like thinking, I mean,
they can have my ticket.
What a Premier League treat we have in store. It's funny because the Brighton game, I think I tweeted it was going to be probably last on Match Today after about 19 minutes. I mean, this has high potential, even on Match of the Day 2, probably to be on after like Too Good, Too Bad, doesn't it?
Well, it's Burnley playing Everton, aren't they, tomorrow night or Wednesday night, which is obviously huge with them being 4 points behind and played the one fewer or on the same now. So Burnley beat Everton and suddenly their great escape is on. Lose to Everton and it's another kind of meaningless clash, isn't it, on Sunday?
I feel like I'm going to get in there before a million people make this point during the week, but has there ever been a greater Super Sunday juxtaposition than Norwich v Burnley followed by Man City v Liverpool? It's kind of like asking like Jedward to warm up for Radiohead or something like that, isn't it? It's just like I reckon it's worth watching them back to back just to see the incredible difference in the football. Like neither team in our game is going to want the ball at all, and then you've got Man City Liverpool to follow that. So that'll
Chris
be
and Michael Chris Michael just remembering they've got to work after the full-time whistle. As well. They probably don't even get to see the first half. They'll learn the second half.
No.
Well,
Yeah,
it could
true.
be. It's got, and this will be in Steve's wheelhouse. This will be after Brighton and Burnley 0-0 in successive weeks earlier on in the season. Is it going to be the double and another 0-0?
No.
Oh, you wouldn't write it off, would you?
You absolutely wouldn't write it off.
You would not. I mean,
what's happened to
Do we have
Robbie
to
Brady?
Robbie
He's
Brady.
not there now, is he?
No,
he's
Hull,
Championship.
Bournemouth.
Sounds
Is he?
right.
I think he got released. He got released by Burnley, I think.
He's definitely in the Championship. I was going to say Luton, but that's Snodgrass.
Someone Google it.
Chris,
as we speak.
Chris is double checking.
Who said Bournemouth?
Bournemouth.
Michael.
Well
There
done.
you go. He won't be there on Sunday then, I would imagine. I mean, if anyone wants to see play? I'd like to see more of Christos Jolis now. He appeared on the pitch at Brighton. I just play him. Just play him.
Mm-hmm.
His first contribution was falling over, wasn't it? But that seemed to lull, I think, was it Dunk into a full sense of security, who then missed the ball and allowed T'Challa to get back up and create a chance really late on as well when Roy went down.
Tricks.
Yeah.
Just tricks.
Is that that's maybe a tactic going forward, if just be deceptively awful and to lull them into thinking
that does explain the first 30 games.
There's very little deception about that most of the time. So.
And I mean, atmosphere wise, are we? I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. You've got a group of players who are going to be rocking up, thinking, "Right, this is a big game. We've got to kind of go for it here." Are they going to be the only ones, Chris, turning up to Carrow Road thinking that? Because the crowd, I just can't. I don't know. Sunday lunchtime as well.
I know exactly what you mean, but I think if on the off chance Norwich do start really well and do, let's say, get an early goal, I think Norwich fans would go with it and lift themselves for it. I think they've been so starved of it, haven't they? That they'd be delighted to have something to get their teeth into. I was looking the other day, and I think one of the main reasons there is such a sort of malaise around Norwich fans at the moment is because you always have to forget about last season because, it was great. Norwich got record points tally, but there was nobody there to see it, bar the odd game where a handful of people were let in. So if you're looking at sold out league games at Carrow Road this season and the last Premier League season, Norwich have won something like 6 out of about 30 odd. So that feeling when you're at Carrow Road and you're turning up to watch a successful team play, Norwich fans haven't actually felt that for 3 years. You have to go back to the first promotion of the Daniel Farke. For the last time, Carrow Road was watching an informed team and it was absolutely jumping. We've had 1 or 2 highlights of the interim, but because last season was played behind closed doors, it's now 3 years since we were all together watching a winning team. And I think we've forgotten what it's like. And I think that probably has played into the atmosphere now. The problem with last season, record points tally and all, was that it was never going to live in the folklore of other seasons because it's the fan stories that make it. So I do think that is playing into the atmosphere at the moment. We've now had 6 wins, and I can't remember exactly what it is, 30 odd games in front of a full house at Carrow Road, 6 wins. It's not a fortress. It's not a place. It's a place that people go out of a sense of duty now, isn't it? Rather than excitement about seeing their team play and hopefully win a game of football.
Norwich haven't beaten Burnley in the league in like 12 years, is it? 14 years? Something like, I think it's 2008 or 9
We'll
or
have to check
8,
that out.
something like that.
We did avoid them for a long time, didn't we? We went through a spell where they were like Fulham are now, where we were always going, up and down and missing each other.
This is true. But I still remember the game 2 years ago at Carrow Road where Norwich had 2 sent off in the first half and played the second half with 9 men. And the second half, was the second half goalless?
No, they actually it was.
Oh,
in that dreadful, that awful Project Restart, which as bad as this season has been, nothing will ever be as bad as that. I won't have it. That was when they played 45 minutes with 9 men, didn't they? And actually defended far better than they did at any other point during Project Restart until, you're right, last minute Ben Godfrey scored an own goal. And it was, oh dear, what a dreadful couple of months that was.
Brilliant.
The worst.
Goal that was.
What I would say about for them, coming into the game on Sunday is they will absolutely be thinking we've got to win this. So they can't be playing for 0-0, which I think is normally, I don't want to speak for Burnley here, but I'm presuming that's Dyche's modus operandi away from home in the Premier League is right. Let's just keep it tight and not concede. But they will have to be thinking of winning that game. So if it's 0-0 with half an hour, 20 minutes to go, you would think that they're going to come out at some point out of their shell and try and nick one, which hopefully will open it up for us to gloriously go up the other end and score 2 or 3. Why not?
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, you've opened me up to it's an idea for one match piece, so I'll put it in as a throwaway line. Hope everyone ignores it. But my time as a Premier League correspondent at the Athletic has generally been me meeting my opposite number for the opposition club and them completely sweating over the fact that they have to win against Norwich, because Christ, imagine if they didn't. So I'm completely used to that.
Otherwise, their manager gets sacked, as we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, indeed. Right. Well, I think we're all done. Question: did you see any good comments or questions? I'm sure there were loads, obviously. Steve, or any worth bringing up? Let's see if we can just have a. Saying John Cooper straight in. Burnley will beat us.
That's the spirit.
That's the way. I want to hear a load of that at Carrow Road on Saturday.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
Well, somebody, James M at 826, sort of asked a question that we kind of covered. But what level do you think our current loanees will reach in their careers? Norman, Kabak, Gilmore, Williams. I don't know whether we can cover all 4 in a succinct way.
Oh, I mean, let's take one each. Brandon Williams. I mean, I can see him getting a Premier League move.
I quite like him. I know. I've been impressed actually. Yeah. By and large with Brandon Williams. I think you often with loan players, you often get this thing about they don't really, there'll be some. I think he's worn his heart on his sleeve more than most this season. I've really enjoyed watching him play, and I know he's made the odd ricket here and there, and he's been criticised for particularly the Leeds winning goal in that recent game. But I've absolutely no problem with him at all. I think you mentioned earlier on, Michael, about how difficult it's going to be with the player of the season. He'd not be far away from my top 3, Brandon Williams. He's not. I've been really impressed as this season has gone. He's been one of the more impressive for me, I would say.
You'd probably say if Norwich would have stayed up this year, you'd probably be looking at signing him permanently if there was.
I would have wanted him to. Yeah, definitely.
Who wants to take someone else? Kabak? Schalke don't want him.
I mean, he's already played for Liverpool, hasn't he? Played in the Champions League, so he's already reached a level that he seems unlikely to reach again.
Fulham next season.
Good shout for that. Yeah.
I'm going to say. Sorry, Dan. I was going to say Norman, and then I'll let you take Gilmore. Is not the play. I'm not convinced. Injury prone, and to be fair, he may still be carrying a knock now. But I think I might have likened him to Paul Pogba earlier in the season, in that he looks more effective than he actually is. In a bad way, I likened him to Pogba.
Oh right, fine.
Yeah, I would have Pogba in our midfield in a heartbeat. But not sure that. I think aesthetically, kind of the impression of him is great, but I think the reality is it doesn't always live up to that.
Billy will either be, for some reason, use 2 Tottenham players, and I think I might have said this on the podcast before, but he'll either be Tom Carroll, who is a good-looking, neat and tidy central midfielder who's at Ipswich now, playing in League One. He'll be Harry Winks, who's a good squad player in a good Premier League side, but the jury's entirely out about which of those scale he'll end up on. Tifo, my friends, I call them that. I don't know if they're my friends, but I love them. They did a video on Pirlo and what he was as a player, and it's very good, and you can catch it wherever. Now, I'm not for one moment, because I've watched a lot of him, so no one misquote me here. I don't think he's as good as Pirlo was, but what Pirlo tried to do as a job, you're like, well, that's kind of what I think Billy thinks, or maybe people think he should be and will be, which is the first time I'd sort of thought, oh, maybe that's it, but not in the lower reaches of the Premier League with Norwich for definite. So there we go. I think we're pretty much there, are we?
Yeah, there's a lot of Weber love not in the comments, but we can save that for another week. So all the people talking about Weber, just keep tuning in. You know,
we'll get there.
You will get there.
Email them to him, and then he can read them all on the way up and down the mountains. It'll be good to. It goes Paul Frake, possible team for 2022-23. Cruel or Gun, Brigham, Sam McCullum. Is it loan at QPR? I don't know how much he's playing at the moment. Grant Hanley, Andrew Mbamidele, Jakob Sørensen, Kenny McLean, Pierre Lesmelu, Jolis Sinani, who Huddersfield have an option to buy, but I don't know if maybe that requires them to go up. Pookie and Ida. There you go.
So we need to make some signings then.
I think that's. I don't know if that's helped the mood or lowered it, but
you know what? You put that name up on the screen for a brief moment. I read it as Farker and not Frank. He's back.
Daniel's brother.
Even next season. Yeah.
It's been said before.
The prospects of having to play against Farker next season is apparently increasingly likely.
I can just see him rocking up at West Brom, I must admit, but we'll see. But I think that is time for our first century. See what I've done there. Of On the Balls, the Norwich City podcast that regularly skies things from 12 yards. If you're yet to do so, make sure you subscribe via your podcast player of choice. The pod is available free for everyone on your usual player, and we are streaming the recording of the podcast live. As those watching will now know, just search Michael Bailey, The Athletic Norwich City, on your preferred social media platform, and I'm sure it will turn up. Ratings and reviews, wherever prompted, are always hugely appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, sling me a direct message on Twitter at Michael J. Bailey. A big thank you to our guests tonight on this very special pod. Steve, thank you so much once again, and for all of your work.
Thank you very much, Michael. Pleasure as always.
Likewise, Dan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Chris, we did the first one. You've done the 100th one. Thank you so much. Can you come on before we get to 200?
I'd love to, and I think I did the Daniel Farker farewell special as well. So you know,
although I didn't, I said it wasn't a proper pod.
That wasn't a proper one. Yeah, at least this one has been. Can we have a word for your Swiss student as well?
Yes.
You know, who said, "What's he doing upstairs now?" He's doing his podcast. You can imagine, can't you?
I did tell him not to pop in. I was half wondering.
Oh, he could have brought him in. Yeah.
But he could have done. He's got better. His English is better than mine, to be honest. So probably.
Get him on next week after he's watched Norwich play Burnley.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! Imagine it. I think it was football. We will be back next week for a fresh bout of Canaries Capers in another edition of On the Ball, Norwich City podcast. But until then, thank you all. Thank you everyone for listening. Never mind the danger. And we're clear. Steve, Dan, Chris, all you Twitterkers out there, welcome to Wits End. If any of you have stumbled across this for the first time, I'm wondering what's going on. Why haven't we stopped? Well, listen to On the Ball pod number 42, which went live on September the 8th, 2020. Yes, so that was a year, 10 months after our first podcast. It's all explained there. Anyway, you can email this bonus part of the podcast directly, Twitterkers, Twitter, KERS @icloud.com, or use the hashtag Twitterkers on Twitter. Just don't explain what it refers to, because it's a secret club, this bit, right? Isn't it? Yeah. We didn't do this on the first pod, though, did we, Chris?
No, well, if you did, I wasn't asked. It was that secret.
That's so secret. We couldn't really do it then because we were in some random office in central Norwich, if I remember rightly. Oh, yeah. It's been a while since we've done one of these in person. I mean, a bit like Norwich's playing philosophy, we're not sure if Wits End will continue beyond this season. So any strong views are welcome. And feedback if we still enjoy it, or maybe we should just all do this in the normal pod. I don't know. Maybe it's just my own guilt at having still not written up all of the space puns and horoscope puns.
We have some tooth puns.
Norwich City tooth puns.
Yeah.
Filling Mulrine.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh, nice. Thanks. Straight off the bat.
There you go.
Teeth O'Neill.
Teeth O'Neill. Teeth Scott. Yeah, that's grand.
I have nothing else. Mola? No.
Oh yeah, Phil.
The problem is if we don't
Molarine.
think of them. Oh, Phil Molarine, yeah, filling Molarine.
Oh, yeah. This is all I've got. I haven't got anything else. I wanted to do something with braces.
While you're thinking of that, I was going to mention, because Dan said that the moment that summed up the last few games, or the season in the last few games, was the first 15 minutes of the Leeds game. For me, the moment that summed up was in the Chelsea game, when a lame bird was on the pitch at the Norwich City end for probably the last 10 or 15 minutes of the first half, and was just left to its own devices. No player came near that bird for about 10 minutes. And then at half time, the stewards ushered it towards the other end of the pitch again, so that it would be at the end where Norwich was shooting. Kind of quite astutely, safest place on the pitch.
I'm pretty sure they were trying to catch it. But that was the thing. The bird started off in the Norwich penalty box, I think. And then it was all getting a bit close. So he literally flew to the other end of the pitch. Because I'm going to be safer here. It actually picked out where. There's a good video of how Josh Sargent dealt with the bird tactically. Someone broke it down. And it's a brilliant video on YouTube. You've got to watch it. It's just.
What does he do? I haven't seen it.
Well, no, as in he's just breaking down. Josh Sargent gets played the ball because he was playing in that right channel where the bird was, so he was just breaking down in sort of tactical, analysing sense with lines.
How he was using the birds to kind of shield the ball from the defender,
using the bird as a decoy.
The same thing sort of happened on Saturday in the second half, when obviously the half where Norwich were trying to attack was in front of the Norwich fans, and 3 or 4 seagulls just landed in that half and had a good 6 or 7 minutes wandering around with not getting disturbed at all.
I like the idea that all the birds in the UK have kind of gone, where a really safe place to hang out is. Just get down where Norwich City are playing.
Oh dear, that's quite depressing. I did feel good. I felt at least the Norwich fans got to see them up their end in the second half. Well, Dan, you were there. It was a good sort of 2 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, at least 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah,
good fun. I was going to ask a question actually based on Stuart Webber's mountaineering. If you were with Stuart Webber up a mountain and got into trouble, which Norwich City player would you most like to be with you to save you? Who is the most resourceful Norwich City player?
This feels like a reworking of a past Wits End, and you managed to get it in.
That we couldn't use for reasons that we can't go into.
No. Yeah, that will never be heard.
Mountain-based disasters.
Okay, so we want a current Norwich City player?
Yeah, let's narrow it, yeah.
Okay.
And it can't be Grant Hanley, because it's always Grant Hanley.
Yeah, that's the stock answer, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a reason why. I wasn't on the last time you guys had this discussion, but I can kind of remember it from editing it and then just culling it. Brandon Williams would be quite useful.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely punch a yak to death, couldn't he? And probably set fire, just a little base camp fire, and nicely grill the yak, and so that'll see you through a couple of nights probably.
This is off the back of you last time saying he was the Norwich player most likely to stick pencils up their nose when they were at school.
I didn't say that. Ben Mouncer quoted me saying that.
Oh, okay.
I feel like he'd inevitably he'd make a mistake and slip and fall down the mountain at some point though, and that, so
and there's a few contenders.
And if you're all tied together by rope, you're all going, aren't you? That's the problem then. That would be a short expedition.
Well, maybe this is finally Jacob Sorensen's moment. Then he's the utility man, the man for all occasions. This is what we've been waiting for. He's going to rescue us all from a mountain at some point.
But I guess the problem is we wouldn't have taken him with us, would we? We'd have just gone out. No, we don't need you this week.
It'd be like Home Alone, and we'd just get on the plane, land, and realise we've left him behind.
Yeah.
I think the reach that Sam Byram showed at the weekend would probably be quite handy for climbing a mountain. If you're talking, how high he could get with his arm. That's fantastic.
There's a great bit after that where Sam just sort of turns around and he just sort of goes, "Oh, he was pulling me off." He just couldn't even be bothered to argue with the ref. He just knew it was rubbish. But
he looks
so sad.
I think one of the Scandinavian lads are obviously used to the snow, so Sørensen or Pookie, so they might be used to that kind of climate.
I think Tamer would be fun. I mean, in terms of raising spirits, he'd be the one most likely to, ruck up, with a party in his bag, because he'd be like, yeah, no, I'm used to this. It's fine. Here's a few beers.
I don't want to get geopolitical here, but is Finland in Scandinavia?
No,
because
not.
I quite often have this where I'm like, I feel like I could do a Scandinavian tweet about Pookie, like he's the first.
No, don't.
And then it's like, but if I do that, I mean, maybe I'm overestimating the influence of my tweets, but am I going to get some Finnish people saying,
Yeah,
oh,
you will, because someone added it into one of the editors who are brilliant at The Athletic, but they did add in the word Scandinavian into my Finland piece ahead of the World Cup, and it was like, no, it's not Scandinavia, thanks.
In that case, I apologise to everyone in Finland.
It's okay.
Sorry to call you out there.
Misrepresenting you.
I think what you need to do, I think I've got the answer to this then. If you're worried about yaks and things like that, in any danger, anything that you think is a danger, you have Tim Krul with you, who's normally quite an affable, lovely bloke, but you tell Tim Krul that whatever it is the danger is about to take a penalty against him. And then he turns, doesn't he? And then the game face goes on, and he's psyching them out, he's doing all of that. And that I know you didn't have much to cheer down on Saturday, but when he turned to you after the missed penalty, that wonderful sort of lion's roar that he gave about the missed penalty, that's what you want Tim Krul, but only in about to face a penalty mode. That's what you want up a mountain. No one messes with that.
I hope he wasn't like that during his birthday. I hope he was more relaxed. Yeah, bring me the cake. You want the cake? Yeah, you can't get that cake here. Could have happened. I guess it does bode the question, who's the football you would least want with you?
Just instinctively, Kieran Dowell. Don't know why. Just don't think he'd be very good. Sorry.
Oh, it's my fault for asking such a brutal question.
I can't even quantify that, but that's just my instinct.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure should say this, but Adam Eder is a man who accidentally left his passport in Ireland when he was trying to come back from an under-19s game. So it feels like maybe he's not got the kind of logistical sense that you might need on a mountain.
He wouldn't even get to Nepal or wherever Everest is. He's not used to foreign travel, obviously.
What about Zimbo? Because Zimbo's busy at the minute because he's like our Kayla at the minute, isn't he? He's looking after all them youngsters on the bench on Saturday. He's at the mountain as well, but with his venture scouts. Swimming it in row, and Kamara all there following our Kayla Zimmerman up the mountain.
I love that. I mean, I feel like you'd be spending a lot of time having to sort of pick Matthias Norman up off the floor after he stubbed his toe. Yeah, you'd be spending a bit of time.
I think Matthias Norman would fancy himself as being useful in those situations, but would turn out to be a real strain on resources.
Yeah. And I mean, would Todd wear a hat? Would he? I suppose, yeah, he probably would. I'm just wondering about his hair and self-care.
Can you get Wi-Fi up there as well for Instagram?
Yeah, probably.
I was going to say think of the Insta content if you get to the top. I mean,
that's true,
he'd be doing wonders for the Weber brand if Weber does bring him with him.
Puma
I suspect those two probably wouldn't go up the mountain together.
It'd be frosty.
Oh, very nice.
And on that note, that's also I can really feel my teeth now. So the painkillers are wearing off. So I think we better go before I just start wailing. Thank you, gents. What a fitting podcast. I mean, I don't know if I could describe it any other way.
I think the best way to end any 100th podcast is by saying the painkillers are wearing off. That feels like a great way to finish.
Anyone got any other business?
Not from me.
No, Kenny. No, poor old Kenny. That was one of his last jobs. Well, in that case, thank you so much, everyone. I know we've run over time. I will leave you to say goodbye on 3, if that's okay. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
Goodbye.
And there they go. Oh, why is my mouse not working? Oh, there we go. Bye, everyone. There we go. That was seamless. I think that all worked. What a lovely, brilliant bunch they are. As are you. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you want to get in touch with Twitterkers, Wits End, then hashtag Twitterkers, or you can email us directly at twitterkers@icloud.com. Until next time, that's a wrap. Poor old Lucas, he was missing, wasn't he, on the weekend? We are done. Thanks for watching the recording. I hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry we've not been around for a few weeks, but that is us back. We'll see you next Monday. In the meantime, look after yourselves and think only good, positive thoughts ahead of Sunday, which will, of course, be an absolute joy of football. Good night.